have the hard copy.
Okay. All right. Oops. All right. So let's start with let's do an Om first, and then the 3 invocations. I'll do the 3 invocations once, and then we can do it together. Let's do an Om first. Do it 2 more times together. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Namo Gurave Namaha. Om Namo Gurave Namaha. 2 more times together. Om Shri
Ganeshaya Namaha.
Om
Shri Saraswataya Namaha.
Om
Namo Gurave Namaha.
Om
Shri Ganeshaya Namaha.
Om
Shri Saraswataya
Namaha.
Om
Om
Namo
Gurave
Namaha.
There comes tea. Hi, T. So I guess we'll have to work somewhat creatively with the chanting because there's the lag that happens. I guess, do you hear a lag, or is it's just probably just on our end?
No, I hear it too.
Yeah. So I think when we do the call and response, I may not. Maybe we won't. I'll just let you respond at a certain point, and I won't also sing in, so that I can just hear you. We'll see. We'll work it out. Does anybody have any questions starting off about last week, about anything?
Nope.
Okay. The one thing I was going to say in terms of clarifying is, so I mentioned like the J versus Jai. I did actually find out why J is okay. It's actually short for the long version. So remember how they drop a letter in the Hindi? So there's J is of course fine, but also Jaya is another word for it. Can you guys see it? Is it backwards?
That's right.
No, okay. So J is the Jaya, they just have dropped the A. And like we said, in Hindi, and especially in India, it carries over into Sanskrit also. There's a lot of dropping the A. So J and Jai, that's what happens with them. And they both mean the same thing. So it's fine. It's kind of like victory too. Okay, so the other thing, Chelsea mentioned that when she was listening, I wanted us to, again, as usual, to start chanting chant the vowels and to chant the alphabet. Chelsea mentioned that when she listened to the recording afterwards, she heard a little bit of confusion with the special consonants at the back. The special consonants, they are included. There's always ksha. The special consonants are the the ksha, the tra, and the nya. So ksha is like moksha or vriksha. Those all use it. So it's that ksha. Ksha appears on all alphabet charts. Sometimes these two do, and sometimes they don't. I don't again really know the logic behind it, but I do know that they're not letters the same way these are. They're special consonants, but there's many consonant groupings that are made. These are just like important enough to be put on the chart. So tra also occurs a lot. That one I would imagine that there's not so much difficulty pronouncing. The ksha, tra, and nya is like agnya or jnana. And this you do hear pronounced differently by different people and in different parts of India. Sometimes it's more like a ya, and sometimes it's more like a agnya, or whatever. But nya is, so do you guys want to try saying that? Nya, nya, like agnya chakra. Okay, and ksha, ksha, vriksha, moksha. Mm-hmm. Tra, I can't think of a word right now that uses tra, but we'll come across one, I'm sure. And nya. Nya. Agnya, like agnya. Jnana. Yeah, like knowledge. Jnana. Yeah, like jnana yoga. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And I also wanted to mention, if you are particularly interested in the aspect of learning Sanskrit that has to do with the vibration, this is a good book. Mantra, it's called Mantra Yoga and Primal Sound: The Secrets of Bija Mantras by Dr. David Frowley. So if any of you, Chelsea is writing it down, you know, we can send you that information. And he, you know, he goes into a lot of the, you know, the stuff about the, like what each, what the vibration of, like the letters, and he refers to a lot of like the Shaivite tradition of mantra or shabda yoga. That's the yoga of sound. Okay, so let me get my pointer. Should we try I'll do this call and response, because then I won't hear quite so much of a lag. We'll do the vowels, and we'll do the vowels 3 times. So these vowels, a, I, and u, and they're longer, a, I, and u. These are like the, those are like the root, those are like the basic 3 vowel sounds. They are like, you know, they are the most important in a certain way. These are also basic vowels, but you know, they're less used, and they're less, like these then become the basis of the compound words, compound vowels, the diphthongs. And in chanting them, for example, you can feel it has that real sort of, it is guttural, and it has that real, it's like the basic sound. And the longer versions just sort of extend that. So is kind of like, is like just the generalized beginning in a sense, the primary sound. I and I are more like focused, and I think that I read somewhere that there are more words that use I and I than any other vowel. Although I didn't think, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, but I don't know. And then u is the most forceful from the lips, and it's more like the manifestation or creativity. Like those are the, this is the beginning, this is the pointing or directing, and this is the the manifesting or creating of these sounds. And you can kind of feel that energy if you chant those like it, e. You can feel like the it, e, like it changes from this general kind of like opening up to, you can almost feel like the point of the sound going towards the top of the mouth. And it's much more, it has a much more focused feeling. Most of the bija mantras do use e, like clean, cream, shreem. So in that sense, e, that pointing towards a direction is in most of, it's definitely in most of the bija mantras. Most of the bija mantras have e, the long e. And then you can, again, that there's a different feeling about that than from either of the other two. Obviously, that's not to say none of the other sounds are important, but these are like the root sounds of the language. Okay, so I will chant through it. I will do a call and response, but I will mostly listen after chanting it. Okay.
It's more confusing if I respond back since
No,
I'm in the room.
why don't you go ahead and try, and then we'll see. Okay. It, e, oo, oo.
E, oo,
R, r, r,
Oh.
r,
r, r, r,
A, I, O, ow, aha.
A,
I, O, ow,
And I did also read, so I pronounce these the way that I learned to pronounce them. I did hear I did read somebody say that that sometimes this is, the long lr is pronounced lri, but I've never, I mean, that's news to me. That doesn't mean it's not true, but okay. Do you think we could do it together? What do you think? Okay, so are you guys up for trying together, even with the lag?
I mean, sure.
What? Is it troublesome to you, the lag?
No, I just don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm saying it correctly, but I also don't know.
Uh-huh. So say it. Well, why don't, one thing that could happen is, so sometimes too, when I do the teaching for the yoga teacher trainings, because these are people who are training to teach, this is something I didn't do with you. Sometimes I have everybody come up and lead it. And that's a good way to find out where people are not quite getting it. So we could do you want to try that?
Sure. I mean, I know for me, it's very, very difficult for me to articulate the retroflexes.
Uh-huh.
And just also because like those sounds don't exist in English, so I've had no reason to use that.
Right. But if you think of, for example, so it becomes easier when they show up in words, like, and there too, there's a little bit more flexibility around not necessarily pronouncing it 100% correctly. Like rishi, or Krishna. I mean, it ends up sounding like Krishna, but it's not really Krishna, it's Krishna. But it's much easier to pronounce in a word. But it can be good to try. Just think about where your tongue is placed. That does make it easier.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to go first?
Let me get the paper so I actually have it in front of me.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't see you. Somehow your picture disappeared from my.
I think she turned off her camera.
What? Oh,
She may have turned off her camera.
okay. Do you want to go first then, Chelsea, while we're waiting for,
Sure.
okay.
I have a really hard time with those for sure.
Okay, do you want to lead?
Sure.
Do you want to take the spot, or do you want to do it from the?
Go for it.
I can do it.
Okay.
Here. Do you want to just point to them and I'll say
Okay.
them? It'll be easier because that way everyone does the same.
Okay, so Chelsea is going to lead. And
it, e, ooh, ooh.
It, e, ooh, ooh. I'm following her lead.
Vr, vr,
R, r, r. You could try re too. R,
vr,
re,
one.
r.
Lr,
That's good.
lr,
Lr. Or you could try lri. It's probably
Lri.
easier. Like
lri,
lri.
lri.
Lri. So
What
try
word
that
is that
again.
in?
So this is only in one word that I've ever heard. It's the name of the Iri. Iri is the
Iri.
name of the mother of the demons.
Iri.
Yeah, and it's with a long E first. So it's two vowels together, which is odd.
Okay.
A long E and then this.
All right.
Oh, ilire. So it's three vowels together because then it's followed by an A.
Iri. All
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
A, I, O, L, ha.
A, I, O, ow, aha. Okay, you want to try it again, Chelsea?
I, E, U, U. L, R, L, L, A, I, O, L, ha.
Good. Okay, Jessica, are you ready?
Let's do it. Okay. E, I, U, U, R, R, L, L.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just try putting put your tongue at the top of your mouth and try to say an R.
R.
Like as if not like R, more like
Is there round?
When your tongue is,
yeah.
They honestly sound the same to me, even though I know one's like a little longer.
Or you could try, like I said, ri, 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 so this the way to feel the difference between these two is to be sure that you put your tongue on the back of your teeth when you say this one.
Oh, okay.
So this one, your tongue is at the top of your mouth.
Yeah.
And this one, you move your tongue to the back of your teeth. That makes all the difference in the world, and then it becomes easy. So these basic vowels, is the beginning of all the gutturals. If and if is the beginning of all the palatals, or it's the birth of all. U is the beginning of all the labials. The cerebrals are the that's why you want to be sure that you put your tongue there at the top. And the lit, if you just put your tongue against the back of your teeth, you will say it correctly.
Okay.
Okay. You ready?
I'll try it again.
Okay.
E, I, U, U.
That was better. Just right. And just try saying it might be easier now to go ri.
Okay.
Ri.
Ri.
Ri. Ri.
Ri.
Okay.
A, I, O, L, ah.
Good. I would say that for all of you, you can linger a little bit more just for the purposes of doing this on the long it, e, ooh. All right. Kate, you want to give it a try?
Sure.
Okay.
Sorry, I just lost the lost the picture.
Okay.
I think Brandy, can you put yourself on mute, please?
How do I do that?
There's a
Bottom left-hand corner.
bottom left-hand corner.
Cool.
There's an icon
Thank you.
for mute. Brandy? I mean, okay, so okay. You ready?
Okay.
Okay.
I, u, u, r, r, r,
Good.
a, I, o, ow,
Good.
Nice.
Yeah, well done. All right, who's next? Somebody is just, did T just become a,
I can do it.
okay,
My husband's also on a call, so you might hear some background noise.
okay.
Uh, I, u, r, 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 a, I, o, ow,
Good. When you do, for everybody, doing the and aha, they're really interesting ends to the vowels, because the is like the pulling it all in, the and the is the expression of it back out. So let yourself feel that as you do it. It will bring a difference. They're both very special. I mean, they're always there with the vowels. They're not exactly vowels, but they're very important in terms of the energy. Like all of the bija mantras have the anusvara. And as I've said before, Visarga is really important in terms of what it does to everything. So T, you want to try doing these two again? It was
Yes.
T who was doing it, right?
Yeah, I was doing it.
Okay.
R, r,
R,
r, r,
r. Try re. R, re.
r, re,
R,
r,
re.
re,
Okay. R, re.
r, re.
So think again, make sure your tongue is at the back of your teeth and think of it like lr, lr, lr. So this is more like just r, and this is lr. Okay?
I can't.
So let's do it again. R, r,
R,
r,
r,
r,
r,
r, re.
r, re,
Okay.
r, re, re,
Re.
r, re. The long. I feel like I'm confused about the long because I'm like literally it doesn't sound. Is that right?
Well, I have
R,
never heard it as lri. I did read that sometimes it can be pronounced lri. That sometimes first of all, you almost never encounter these two longs. So that's why knowing exactly how they're pronounced, I learned it more like the way that I taught you. Like it just goes longer. And it just goes longer. But I did read somewhere that some people say that it's uri and lri, which makes some sense because it often, when you like Krishna sounds like like there's an e in there, and if it was Krishna, that would make sense. But it's okay. And is that who else hasn't done it yet? T did it.
Tina.
Oh, Tina. Hi, Tina. Right. I can't see. It's small. Tina, do you want to try it? Tina, do you want to lead the vowels? She must be on mute.
Well, she's on mute. Tell her to unmute herself.
Unmute yourself, because I can't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Do you want to lead the vowels?
Yeah. I
Okay.
can't really see your chart too well, so I'm going to read.
Yeah, you
from
should read
my,
off your own. I don't have the big chart. I only have my smaller chart.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I'll do it anyhow, but still.
Okay.
Okay.
E, E, U, U. Okay. R, R, R. I don't know.
That was good.
What,
Okay. A,
A, I, O, O,
good. This is lr, 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 or lr, lri, lr.
Lori.
Good.
Lori. Okay.
So has everybody done it? Shane hasn't. Is Shane there? Where is she? Oh, there she is.
It just goes
She
over.
just right. Okay. Shane, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm just in my room.
Just a
Okay.
second. I'm going to move it over so I can see you and don't see myself. Okay. All right. Hi.
Hi. I, U, U, R, 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 A, I, O, Ow, aha.
Good. So, so I think that being sure to have your tongue against the back of your teeth will help get this the difference between these two. And then this one, your tongue is not there. Your tongue is right back in your mouth. And it might be easier to do it in chanting, even though this is not the way I learned it, to do ri and lri. So do you want to try that?
Say that one more time.
Ri and lri.
R, ri, li, ri.
Yeah, I think it's a little easier,
It
even
sounds
if it's
different,
not.
so it's easier to hear the difference.
Yeah, it's easier to hear the difference between the long and the short. Okay, let's do it together one time, all right? And actually, why don't we do it together 3 times, and let's do it once together, actually all the way through, including these, and then we'll do it 2 more times the easy way. How's that? Okay, you ready? Start with an Om. Om. Together. Now the easy way. Okay, let's go through, we'll go through the consonants once just because, and then I'll check you all with the special compounds, but we'll go ka, kaha, ga, kaha, nga, ka, kaha, ga, kaha, nga, cha, cha, ja, ja, na, cha, cha,
Chaha.
ja,
Ja. Jaha.
na, ta, ta, da, da, na, ta, ta,
Chaha.
da,
Ja.
da,
Daha.
na,
Na.
ta, ta, da, da, na, ta, ta,
Ta. Ta.
da,
Da. Da.
na,
Na.
pa, pa, ba, ba, ma, pa, pa,
Pa. Paha.
ba,
Ba. Baha.
ma,
Ma.
yara, lava, yara,
Lava.
sha, sha, sa, ha, sha,
Sha. Sha. Sa. Ha.
okay, sha, let's hear you say ksha,
Sha.
Tra.
ba, tra, tra,
Tra.
nya,
Oh wait.
nya,
Ya.
nya, 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 like agnya, nya.
Ya.
So often it ends up sounding a little bit like there's kind of a G, or like agnya or jnana. Like I said, some of you weren't here at the beginning. People, you do hear this one pronounced differently. And people can be very attached to the way that they believe it should be pronounced. Okay, is there any questions, or does anybody want to ask, does anybody have any questions about the alphabet before we move on? Yes? Hi, yeah?
Hi. So the nasal column,
Mm-hmm.
I can't really tell a lot of the differences, the distinction in the tones.
Okay.
Is
So that sometimes, actually, we haven't done this since the beginning, chanting down the groups. So you're moving up from the back of the mouth to the front of the mouth with all of these. But so nya is barely, it says N, but it's barely an N. It's more like kind of NG, nya. It's very difficult for words that begins with that are practically unpronounceable. Nya. It's like anga. So together, you guys want to say nya. Nya.
Ya.
Barely an N.
Yeah.
Then this is a little bit more. Your tongue is against the soft palate. So nya, nya. Guys?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your tongue has moved
Yeah.
up to the hard palate. Nya.
No.
And then your tongue is easy against the back of the teeth. Na. Just the normal na.
Yeah.
And then here it's at the mouth, the lips, ma. So it's nga, nga, na, 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 ma. Can you hear a difference when I say it? Can you hear a difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Let's do it together. If you guys if you really think about like the placement of the tongue going from the back to the front, you'll feel the difference. And once you start feeling the difference, you'll start hearing the difference. Okay? Nga, na, 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 ma. Together. Nga,
Ya.
na,
Na.
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 ma.
Ma.
Good. It would be really good to chant down each of these. That's a good thing to do. But in the but this is the last class, and it would be nice to get to some of the other stuff. We were going to get to what we have planned today is to do the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, to do do some of chanting Om and writing Om, and also some with Yoga Sutras too. And also, another thing that Chelsea said she heard when she was listening back over the tapes is a little bit of confusion with the Gayatri mantra. So before we move on to anything else, let's chant that together again. Okay, let me Okay. Does everybody have their copy of the Gayatri? Just a second, I have to. I'm hoping that I can hear him. I don't know. Maybe you guys can't, but I can. I can hear Gordon talking.
Excuse me. So is that the second page in your handout?
Looks like this. It says Vyahitri.
Okay.
It's the
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Let's try saying it together first before we sing it to make sure that everybody has the correct pronunciation. So the words would be Om, and then the next one is Boo with a long U. Boo, but it becomes Boor because of the Visarga change. Om Boor. Then it's Buva is a short U. Om Boor Buva Swaha. Okay, together. Om Boor Buva Swaha.
Swaha.
Tat Savitur. Tat Savitur.
Savitur.
Varenyam.
Varenyam.
So the nasal is this. So it's not brain. It's so just that gives a little extra farther back in the mouth nasality. Varenyam. Varenyam.
Varenyam.
Right.
Varenyam.
Then it's a baha. It's not bargo. It's bargo. Bargo devasya dhimahi. Together. Bargo devasya dhimahi. Dyoyona. Dyoyona.
Na.
Prachodayat.
Prachodayat.
Okay.
Part that in the recording goes.
That's where people get off.
Yeah.
Okay. Does everybody feel clear about how to pronounce that?
Can you pronounce the last word again?
Prachodayat. Together. Do you want to say it together? Prachodayat. Prachodayat. And the emphasis is on the O. Prachodayat. Those are the two long. O and A. Prachodayat.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll lead it through once and then any other questions? Okay. I'll lead it through once and then we'll do it I'll do it call and response once and then we'll try it together 2 more times. Good? Oh, we'll do an Om first. Om. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. Tat Savitur Varenyam. Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Dhyo Yona Prachodayat. Dhyo Yona Prachodayat. Om. So let's do it together 2 times. Okay. Om.
Swaha.
Tat
Savitur Varenyam.
Bhargo
Devasya Dhimahi.
yo yo na
yo yo na
prachodaya
prachodaya
om
om
Bhuvasvaha
Swaha
Tatsavatu
Varenyam Yam
Bhargo
Bhargo
Devasya
Dhimahi
Yo yo
Yo yo na
prachodaya
prachodaya
om
Om.
It's a little challenging, the chanting with the lag, with the video lag. Mhm.
I actually first learned this with a different melody.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard a few different. I haven't heard a lot of different melodies of this, but I have heard some. Do you want to sing it?
I can try.
Okay.
Actually, let me think about the beginning. I remember the later part. I think it was Om Bhurбhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yona Prachodayat.
Oh, that's from Deva Premal's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forget the first part, but I think that was like something similar. But yeah, towards the
Yeah,
last.
no, it's Deva Premal's version of
Oh,
it.
okay, cool.
So that's whoever taught it to you first was inspired by Deva Premal's version. So it's nice. It's a nice version. I don't know if she wrote it or if that's, I think she wrote that one. Her parents sang the Gayatri mantra to her while she was in the womb. So she had a particular strong feeling for it. But yeah, that's a nice version. It's a harder one to sing actually than the one that we've done. I think probably doing Om might be sort of nice right now. What do you guys think? Then go to something.
Like writing it?
What?
Like writing it or
We'll
just
do some with both. We'll chant it and write it. What? Oh no, go right ahead. Yeah. So
A quick question about the
there's
David
some seltzer
Premal.
if you want seltzer. Do you want that? Okay, so you should have these sheets. You should have this one, and you should also have this one, and I guess this is the same. So we have talked some about Om, and I've mentioned how it's the through to the Ma. And there is one of the Upanishads, the Mandukya Upanishad, which I have a copy of somewhere right here. The Mandukya Upanishad is all about Om, actually. It's the smallest, it's a small Upanishad, as you can see. It's only like, I think it's like 12 verses or something. And some of this book is commentary too. So that tells you just how small it is. But it's all about Om. So we haven't done that much writing, but it can be really, to have a practice of writing some with Sanskrit can be a good way to just to bring that energy into your life, to do a combination of the chanting of a word, and Om is a good one. It's the one that the Yoga Sutras say is most important to chant. But but that's what the Yoga Sutras say. They say to chant Om. That's what this page is. This tells you these are the 3 sutras about Om, which we'll go through after. It's Sutra 127, 128, and 129 that follow the description of Ishvara, and then says that the word Om expresses Ishvara, tasya va chakaha pranava, and then the repetition and meditation upon that leads to the realization of its meaning. And then the realization, from that practice follows the realization of the self and the removal of all the destruction of all obstacles. But for example, in Siddha Yoga, it's Shaivas, in like Tantra Shaivism, Soham is the mantra that they say. So different schools of yoga or of thought, of practice will have different mantras that they say. Om is always considered an important one, but it's not necessary. But the Yoga Sutras in particular give it a central importance that other practices can give to other mantras. But regardless, it's good to pick a mantra, pick something. It could be Om, it could be, and I gave you another sheet, Rama, it could be Soham or Hamsa. It's good to, it can be a good practice to pick a word and then practice chanting it and writing it. So I think I also gave you this, the Sanskrit Devanagari words to write. So it has Rama. That I actually do that every day. I write out a line of Rama, and then at the back of I have another practice at the back of the book. I write. I have another practice that I do, but you could do Shiva, Rama. This is Shanti, Om Shanti, and here's Ahamsa and Soham. But we're going to work with Om today. I'm going to talk to you about the meaning of the symbol for Om, and then we'll practice writing it and chanting it. And I think it can be a lot of the time, like chanting it while writing it is what we'll do. So this is Om, and the way the official way to write it is the way that I did, the way that Sanskrit always does. It starts from the it goes in this direction and that's last. But the meaning of Om is this, the largest part. This is the A, and it's Jagrat, or the waking self. And then this is the U. Is that right? Yeah, this is this is the U, which is Swapna, and this is the dreaming self. And this is Sushupti or Sushupta, and this is the Ma, and it is the deep sleep. I think is that right? Yeah. Then this represents Maya or illusion, and then this that's the pause at the end of the Om, and that is Turiya, and that is the or the pause or the silence after Om, and that is the state of pure consciousness. That's the state that you want to, that you're all looking to get to, that everybody, you know, that you want to get to the state of awareness of pure consciousness. So it can be interesting, you know, to chant Om while drawing it the correct way, like that, all the while chanting Om. And sometimes it can be interesting to try doing like the to try doing it not the officially correct way, but in terms of like the u, and and then the silence. So do you guys all have something to write with?
Can I ask a few questions?
Yes.
So this, it looks like, is this an amalgamation of the 3 vowels?
Well, Om is, yeah. The Om is what it is. So this is the letter Om, the symbol for Om that has been this is what the different sounds in Om, and then how they relate to also the symbol of Om, what they represent. So it's not just these are the sounds that are in Om, and then those sounds represent the waking, the dreaming, and the sleeping state. And then the pause at the end is the consciousness. The deep
Okay, I meant more of like the written form, like if it was taking parts of the sound, the o sound, and then the sound, and then putting it all together. Because I also noticed there isn't the line at the top either. Unless,
right, so you can write Om different ways. You can write Om. You can write Om. That is literally, but you have to have that. That is literally Om. And you can also write Om. That's Aum. All of these are valid. I don't know when this, can you see?
yeah.
The light.
Yeah. So this is literally Om right there. And this is Aum. And those are completely valid ways to write Om. This is just a symbol that I don't actually know when this symbol was first. That symbol would have, these would have preceded that.
Right.
But I'm not sure what the genesis of this, when that started appearing most commonly.
So this is more or less like a metaphorical interpretation of the sounds?
Well, so it's not a metaphorical interpretation like, so it's in one of the Upanishads, which is an old Upanishad. It's not something that just like some new agey people came up with.
Okay.
It's the whole Upanishad is about Om. And it says that it has some stuff about what Om actually means, and then the first of the 4 aspects is the Vaishvarana, the Jagrat, and it begins with Jagarta, the universal consciousness with. I mean, this is Sri Brahmananda Saraswati, so he has a tendency to riff on the Sanskrit. But it says the first one is the waking state. The first sound, the is the waking state. Has 7 limbs or frequencies, 19 mouths, and is about gross material objects, and is the common universal consciousness. That is the first. The second, the U, is the dream state. So that's what the Sanskrit of the Mandukya Upanishad actually says. It says that the sounds, it doesn't relate it to the visual of the symbol for Om, but it does relate it to the actual word Om.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Sort of. I'm just trying to understand the written form, like how it came to be. A little bit of like, kind of like the written etymology, if you will, just because
So I
it's been
did,
so pervasive and like, and I was looking at the alphabet and just looking at it, like it's not a one-to-one kind of mapping. So I was just curious why, like
yeah, I
what
think
part, what part comes from what sound, or what part of
well,
the
so
alphabet, something like that.
this right here, this, so it is, so this is, can you see?
Yeah.
So here's ah,
Mhm.
and ah is like that, okay?
Yeah.
Whoops. So then O is like that, and ow is like that, and either one with the anusvarta is like that. So
Mhm.
that's how it literally looks.
Right.
So this, the way this comes from that is, I'm going to erase this. That isn't actually so, it's not actually so confusing. So you still have this, and then you have, normally it would be like this, but it goes and then this. But instead it goes like that.
Mm.
See? So it's sort of like, and sometimes it's, you can see a little bit more of a dip and then out. So it's really sort of getting those two lines. Like sometimes you can see sort of a, there's a little bit of a dip here and then. But so it's kind of like this is the two lines right there, and that's the dot on top. So it's sort of, you can see how it could have become a faster way of drawing this.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense, because
Okay.
that's kind of like how traditional Chinese characters have then morphed into simplified Chinese.
Right. So you guys ready to do some drawing and chanting?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. So get your paper and let's, I'm going to set the timer. Maybe we'll just, for like a couple of minutes, we'll chant Om and draw it at the same time. How does that sound? Does that sound good to you guys?
Let's do it.
All right. And we could do it like a rolling Om. We just keep chanting Om and drawing it, okay? Let's start, okay. Om. timer went. In chanting Om, I mean, it is completely, I mean, this is such a common word, to just go Om is fine. As I think I said before, it doesn't have to become Om, but if you just open your mouth, you'll say So if you just it's actually really, it can be easy to just get that, it doesn't have to be hard to get the sound in, and you don't have to make it a really obvious Om. But especially in the context of chanting it and drawing it and feeling the vibration of the the U, and the it can be nice to give each of them a little bit more. Also, when you do chant it, even if it's Om, the at the end gets some time as well. It should always get some time. Okay, you ready to move on to something else? Or is that, are you guys, we could do more chanting Om, but then we wouldn't get to the other stuff. You good? Okay. I was going to go through book 2, because even though that's a little bit not just the Sanskrit, I think that it's really helpful. With a lot of book 2 is kind of confusing. So I think it can be really good to do the basic run through, and then we can chant we can go through the chanting of a couple of the sutras. I gave you a list of the sutras that have to do with asana, so we could do that. But if you do have my book, which I'm not necessarily promoting, but this right here, where it says the synopsis of book 2, I have a friend of mine who's a yoga teacher in New York who said, like, that should be like everybody in yoga teacher training should have to study that. This, I should tell you, is actually really helpful. It tells you how book 2 breaks down. It starts off with a definition of Kriya Yoga and tells you why you would do it, which has to do with the kleshas. Then it describes the kleshas, what they are. Then it talks about removing the kleshas. Then it goes into a description of the seer, and then it goes into the sutra of the seen, and then we get into the 8 limbs. But I'll go through it sutra by sutra first and tell you. So the first, I'm going to move this a little bit closer to me. Book 2 begins with Tapa Svadhyayeshwara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. So tapas, swadhyaya, and ishwari pranidhana, that's what makes up Kriya Yoga. And as I said last time, Kriya Yoga it's like the quick and dirty method. This is like, if you don't have time for all the meditation and everything that we spoke about in book 1, just do these things. Tapas, some sort of discipline or austerity. Svadhyaya, do your homework, do the work on your own, and surrender to a higher power. So then why would you want to do that? What would be the value of doing that? The next sutra tells you that. Samadhi bhavana, bhavanartha klesha tanu Karanatascha. Just a second, I'm getting distracted by some noise in the background. Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
What are you taking? Oh, okay.
Those of us home with children.
Yeah. So this tells you that active yoga practice, Kriya Yoga, and Kriya simply has to do with activity. It tells you that this is for people who are active, who don't want to just sit. It makes it easier to sustain the experience of samadhi, and it removes the kleshas. So let's introduce this word, the kleshas. What are the kleshas? So klesha is often translated as the pain, the roots of pain. It depends upon whether you think the root of the word klesha is from klish, which has to do with pain, or klesh, which is obstacles. But either way, the kleshas are the things that get in the way, the obstacles that prevent you from knowing your true nature. That's what the kleshas are. So this tells you what the kleshas are. They are avidya, asmita, raga, devesha, and abhinavesha. Those are the kleshas. They run together more in the sutra. So, and they, so avidya is ignorance, which is, like, we think of ignorance as not knowing things. Ignorance in this system is more like it's less of an absence and more of a presence. So ignorance is a thing that blocks you. It's what gets in the way of seeing something, as opposed to a not knowing something. I-ness, that sense of ego, of self, and they do all nest in each other. As the next sutra will tell you, of them all, ignorance is the field from which all the others spring. This also has to do with Samkhya philosophy, because ignorance is the thing at the top that prevents us from seeing our true nature. But that ignorance then creates the asmita, the I-ness. So once you don't know who you are, then you automatically think that you're this person and you identify with I. And then once you identify with I, that I wants to be comfortable. So then you get to raga, you want the things that make you feel good. And devesha, you don't want to feel bad. And above all, abhinavesha, you want to stay alive. So those are the kleshas, and they all spring from ignorance. As this says, whether they are dormant, feeble, intermittent, or fully activated, they all spring from that ignorance of the true self. So then, since ignorance is so important, they're going to define ignorance. Ignorance is defined by 4 things that it isn't, but the big one is mistaking the non-self for the self. So ignorance is regarding the temporary as eternal, the impure as pure, the problematic or painful as pleasurable, and the non-self for the self. Then it describes asmita. Asmita is, they use the words for the seer. It says I-ness, or asmita, is when the 2 powers, the seer and the seen, are thought to be one. But basically, it's when you think that this is the seer, that the seen, that any aspect of material reality, you think that you're the seer. You think that you don't understand that they're totally different, and that you aren't that. And then raga is what runs after pleasure or follows pleasure, and devesha is what follows. So these are the 2 images. It's the front of the heart and the back of the heart. And devesha is what follows pain. And about abhinavesha, they don't describe what abhinavesha is, the fear of death. They just say that exists even in the wise. It's a naturally occurring thing, that you can't escape the desire to remain alive, to continue to be. So this is the part that gets confusing. So it's so important to get rid of the kleshas that the next group of sutras really relates to Samkhya philosophy, and they're very difficult to understand without understanding Samkhya philosophy. So I've been trying to give you like a really quick view of it, and just so that you understand what they're saying, because otherwise, I mean, these are like, the next 2 in particular are almost impossible to figure out. What are they talking about? This one says the subtle kleshas, they mean, are removed by reverse evolution. Does anybody know what that means? What it means is you want to roll things back to the beginning. You want to return to a situation where you can identify with material reality as if it no longer took particularized form anymore. It also is telling you that the basic idea here is that you want to return to a sense of prakriti as undifferentiated, the undifferentiated reality. Because the farther back you get, because Samkhya has this whole evolution of prakriti from its undifferentiated form into the differentiated forms that we see. And the idea is that as you get closer to the undifferentiated prakriti, the first step that Prakriti takes is wisdom. So once you get to there, to buddhi, you have buddhi, wisdom, you have already moved beyond the ego, ahamkara. You are no longer identifying with the self. And from that place, even though you are still not at the seer, you can begin to see the seer. So what you want to do is you want to move your awareness back through Prakriti. So that's the idea. What this sutra says is the idea here is we want to move back, we want to move our awareness back to the closest to the undifferentiated sense of Prakriti that we can. So, but this one says that in practical terms, what that means is meditation. So when the kleshas arrive, you want to try to get to a sense beyond the identification with the ego. And practically what that means is meditation. What you do when actually you find yourself in the heat of things, feeling or acting out of any of these things, out of ignorance, fear of death, desire, that's meditation is the answer. Meditation is the thing that will help you. That's the practical terms. That's what this next sutra, that's what that sutra says. In real terms, this is what we do. So now it's going to tell you more about the kleshas because it's so important to get rid of them. Unless you can remove them, you will continue to act out of them. And as long as you continue to act from out of the kleshas, you will continue to accrue karmic residue. So you will never be able to to see your true self because that will always get in the way. So that's this one. This says, the accumulated reservoir of karma, the accumulated reservoir of actions continues throughout lifetimes, is what it says. In birth seen and unseen, current, past, and future. And then as long as the root exists, there is fruition of it as birth, span of life, and experience. So they're just telling you more that the kleshas, as long as the root exists, as long as actions spring from the kleshas, and nearly all of our actions spring out of ignorance of our true self. As long as we are acting, as long as the root of the kleshas exists in our actions, we will continue to accrue karma, and that karma will continue throughout lives. This says, these births are pleasurable or painful according to whether the causes are virtuous or non-virtuous. As far as the Yoga Sutras go, it doesn't really matter, pleasurable or painful, virtuous or not virtuous, it's still karma. I mean, theoretically, it's more enjoyable to have virtuous, pleasurable experiences, but both are accumulated karma, and that's what this one says. To the wise person, everything is painful or problematic due to the problems and anxiety brought on by change, inevitable change, and its consequences, and by the samskaras, the grooves of action that we wear, and by the conflict inherent in the operation of the gunas. So this one bothered me when I got to it, because I thought, if you're going to set up a dichotomy, why not say, it's just as accurate to say everything's painful as everything's pleasurable. So why say everything's pleasurable? Painful. But it is very much akin to the first noble truth of Buddhism, which is that life is suffering. And it's that basic idea, which, I thought it was brilliant when I realized that, but then I found out that I wasn't the first to realize that. Okay, so then like the second noble truth of Buddhism, or the second or third, it says, but there is a way out. So life is inherently painful, or it's inherently painful because no matter how good your life is, you are still accruing karma, but there's a way out of it. And that you should try to avoid. You can't do anything about, that says the pain that has not come can be avoided. You can't avoid the karma that you've already accrued, but you can try to stop accruing karma, and that's the idea. So then it says the cause of that pain, which is to be avoided, is the apparent conjunction, the samyoga, of the seer and the seen. So the seen is anything you can describe, anything. It's like, it's your thoughts, it's a sneeze, it's books, it's paper, it's, dust mites, it's emotions. Anything that you can describe is material reality and is the seen. The seer only sees and is formless and and untouchable, but the seer is what we want to identify with, is who we are. But according to the Yoga Sutras are like a very dualistic system. The two are not at all alike. They don't interact. The problem is thinking that they are the same and thinking that they interact, or thinking that there's some sort of union between the two when there isn't. In Tantra, for example, there is a union between the two. They dance or they unite, but that's not the same with the Yoga Sutras. So now it's going to describe the scene. The scene exists for two purposes. The scene is characterized by light, activity, and stability. Those are the three gunas. Light is sattva, activity is rajas, and stability would be tamas, and exists for two purposes, the dual purposes of experience and liberation. That's what the scene exists for. So it does exist for experience. It's not just about liberation. And then it tells you more about the stages that the scene goes through as it, the way the three gunas move from being, let's see, what do they name it? The gunas are specific, non-specific, only indicated, and unmanifest. So they're going backwards from the specific things we see to sort of a non-specific energy to a even less specific energy to something that is like only barely sensed. So that's all about the seer, the scene. Now they're going to tell you about the seer. The seer is only seeing. It is pure even when it appears to be seeing through the mind. So the seer is untouched by what it sees because it is awareness. So awareness is untouched by what it sees because awareness stays the same regardless of what it's aware of. You can be aware of pain, you can be aware of pleasure, you can be aware of green, you can be aware of blue, but you're still awareness stays the same. The thing that it's aware of is all that changes. The essential nature of the scene exists for the seer. It says that the scene exists only for the seer. So then they have to describe, if the scene exists only for the seer, then what happens when the seer, once the seer recognizes that it's separate from the scene, that the scene disappears for the seer who has accomplished its purpose, but does not disappear entirely, being common to others. So the traditional metaphor given for this is of a dancer on a stage, that we get the seer gets absorbed in it and believes that it's real, but once it realizes that it's just a performance, the performance is over. For the seer, at least, for that seer. Okay, the conjunction, the samyoga, is the reason for the so this says that the appearance of a conjunction allows the seer to see itself, is what it says. It exists. The reason, the conjunction is the reason for the apprehension of its own form. So it's kind of like saying the scene exists for liberation also. And the cause of it is ignorance. The cause of the conjunction is ignorance. So for this image, I did the solar eclipse, which I think is actually a really good image for this, because the solar eclipse blocks the view of the sun, but it allows other things to be seen. And it is beautiful in its own right. But of course, you wouldn't want a solar eclipse all the time. But in that same way, that ignorance serves a purpose, but it also blocks the view. And then this is from its absence. Once the ignorance is removed, the samyoga disappears, and that's the end of the pain that that they mentioned way back here. That pain, that you should try to avoid that pain. Once the seer recognizes that, once the ignorance is removed, then the pain is gone. The way to eliminate ignorance is through uninterrupted discriminating discernment. That's called viveka. Viveka is the discernment. Kyati is a way of seeing. So the viveka is what you want to develop. That discernment that can see that you are the seer and not the seen. But viveka is also the characteristic that is associated with buddhi, wisdom, the last stage, the first stage after unmanifest prakriti. So then this says that of these, there are 7 stages to the final insight. This is the only sutra I know in the book that lists like there are 7 or 6 or 5 or whatever, and then doesn't tell you what they are. So the commentators say what they are, but you know, so then it's next, that's the first half of book 2. Then the second half of book 2 is all to the 8 limbs. So the 8 limbs are not presented as like yoga practice exactly. They're the way to clear, they're presented as the way to clear away what keeps you from developing this viveka. That they themselves are not an end. The point of the 8 limbs is to help you to clear away what prevents you from having the wisdom to see clearly. So that's why the 8 limbs are, why I have the cleaning supplies inside the 8-sided octagon. So this says, by practicing the limbs of yoga, impurity is destroyed. Then the light of knowledge shines, leading to the viveka. Okay, so this area now is going to be more familiar to you. So then this lists the 8 limbs, which we all know are yama, niyama, pranayama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Those are the 8 limbs. And then it gives you the yamas, which are ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha. Those are the yamas. And it tells you that if you observe all of those all the time without exception, without concern about not limited by birth, place, time, or circumstance, that's the great vow. And then the niyamas, which are cleanliness, shaucha, again, not saucha, shaucha, santosha, tapa, svadhyaya, and ishvara pranidhana. And then it describes something called vitarka bhavanam, pratipaksha bhavanam. So pratipaksha bhavanam is oppositional thinking. And it says, so this is, if you're having a hard time observing the yamas and niyamas, try this, is basically what this says. When one is plagued by negative thoughts, cultivate the opposite thoughts, pratipaksha bhavanam. So this is kind of like saying, the whole point is to stop thinking about me, everything that I think, what I think is right. So let's say you, for example, your son just interrupted you doing something and you think perhaps he shouldn't have done that. You would say, well, no, of course, that's exactly what should have happened, because perhaps you experiment with putting yourself in somebody in a different perspective is really what it is. You think about a perspective other than your own. I am so right, and what I think and feel is right. And then this is another one about pratipaksha bhavanam, and this says, contrary to discourse, this basically says that another way to think about pratipaksha bhavanam, besides just having the opposite thought, is the awareness of whatever is that whatever is caused by greed, anger, or delusion, whether mild, medium, intense, all have there as an ending fruits, suffering and ignorance. So that's why so basically it just says that just being aware of the fact that by feeling any of that anger, greed, delusion, you are creating suffering for yourself. That too is pratipaksha bhavana. Then they go through the yamas, and they don't describe what each of the yamas are. They tell you what the result is. So, and I see we're running out of time. So they do it through the yamas like that, and likewise for the niyamas, they tell you what the result of each of them are. And then you get to asana. And there's 3 on asana, pranayama, and then pratyahara. And then book 3 begins with the last 3 of them. So it's 3:30. Do you guys want to go a little bit longer? Do you guys have something else you need to move on? Hello?
I can stay for another 15ish.
Okay.
Yeah, I can stay longer.
Okay. So I wanted to go through that just because I think that it's seeing book 2 in its entire context is helpful, and it's like so really understanding how it all fits together, and that big chunk of book 2. I think it's pretty much impossible unless somebody explains it to you, or unless it's hard to figure it out unless you know the samkhya behind it. So we could do a little bit more chanting right now. We could pick a couple yoga sutras and work on that chanting, or we could do the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. What would people like? Hello?
I don't know the difference.
Oh.
Me neither. I'm open.
Either or.
I think they're both good things to do, but I guess I feel like the Mahamrityunjaya mantra might be a little bit more, I think let's do that. That's a really good mantra to know. So,
is it in our handout?
It's in your material, yeah.
I think it's right after.
It's right. It should be right after the Gayatri, yeah. Find my copy of it. Put it in here.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Is the session being recorded?
Yes.
Okay.
I was recording it, and also Chelsea has recorded it.
Okay. Yeah, because these mantras be nice to have.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm not familiar with the
right
sound or the tones.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
So this is what the Mahamrityunjaya mantra page looks like.
Okay.
Does everybody have it? Okay. So this is a really this is one of the more well-known mantras, and it's a really important one. It's considered to have special sort of healing properties, and one way to and as it says at the bottom here, it has a meaning that transcends, its power transcends its actual meaning. Sometimes when it's chanted, prior to chanting it, you go around and everybody says the name of someone they want to send the healing energy to, and then you put your hands up like this and chant it, usually 3 times, sending that energy to the person, which we'll do after, but first we'll go through it. It begins with Om, of course. Triambakam, which means tri is 3 and ambakam is the I. So Om Triambakam. Together, Om Triambakam.
Om
Triambakam.
Yajamahe.
Yajamahe.
Which means we worship. Sugandhim. Pushtivardhanam. And as you see, pushti means nourishment, and vardhanam is increasing. Urvarukam. So, and this one that is the hardest part of singing it, is it's urva rukamiva bandhanam is how it goes. Urva rukamiva bandhanam. So together, urva rukamiva bandhanam. Which is urvarukam is a type of cucumber or a fruit. Eva means like, and band is bandhanan, it means like from bondage. Mrityor, mukshya, mamratat. So I'm going to say it through the way, and before singing it. So it's Om Trayambakam yajamahe. Together. Om Trayambakam yajamahe. Sugandhim pushtivardhanam. Sugandhim pushtivardhanam. Urva rukam eva bandhanan. Urva rukam eva bandhanam. Mrichyor mukshya mamratat. Mrichyor mukshya mamratat. And as you can see, it means we worship the three-eyed one, that's Shiva, sweet smelling and who increases strength. Release us from bondage like the ripe cucumber is cut from the vine. Liberate us from death, not from immortality. So it's a very powerful mantra.
It's really appropriate for what's happening right now.
It is, yeah. That seems like a good one. Okay, so I'm going to, we'll do it call and response. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe. Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam. Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam. Urva Rukamiva Bandhanan. Urva Rukamiva Bandhanam. Mrityor Mukshya Mamratat. Mrityor
Mukshya Mamratat.
Yeah.
Again. I'll read it again. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe. Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam.
Sugandhyam Pushtivardhanam.
Urva Rukamiva Bandhanan. Urva Rukamiva
Bandhanam.
Mrityor Mukshya Mamratat. Mrityor
Mukshya Mamratat.
I'll read it one more time and then we'll try it together. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe. Om Trayambakam
Yajamahe.
Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam.
Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam.
Urva Rukamiva Bandhanan. Urva
Rukamiva Bandhanam.
Mrityor Mukshya Mamratat. Mrityor
Mukshya Mamratat. Om.
This is a powerful and important mantra, and it is a really good one for this time. Really good one. Does anybody have any questions about the pronunciation? Okay. Are you ready to try it together? Let's do it together once, and then we'll stop and do the thing with saying somebody's name, and we'll do it through. Okay. So together once. First with an Om. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe.
Sugandhyam Pushtivardhanam.
Urva
Rukamiva Bandhanam. Mrityor Mukshya Mamratat. Om.
So let's go around and say the name. It can be the name of someone or a group that we want to send the energy to. And then we'll chant it 3 times together in a row. I'm going to send the energy out to everybody whose work is severely disrupted by this. I think there's a lot of people who it gets very difficult. All right, Chelsea?
I'm gonna send the energy out to my sister, who is a critical care nurse.
Oh.
And she's working long hours to keep people healthy, and sending her lots of love.
Kate?
I'm going to send it to my dad, who's a high risk individual.
Mm-hmm. Tina?
I'm going to send it to those people, all the people in the medical field and who work in the medical field, and scientists and all of them, to further their research, find a way to help all of us.
Okay. Jessica?
Oh, yeah, I guess everybody, all the people who are helping to just keep the world turning, they can't do their work remotely. Like the garbage just got picked up by garbage man. The postman just dropped off the mail. Like those people, healthcare workers, first responders, those people.
Shane? Is she still there? Is she muted?
Sorry, on mute. Yeah. I'm just thinking a lot of the patients I work with diabetes and other chronic diseases that are just especially scary time for them. So sending my thoughts to them.
Okay, good. I want to send to my mother too, who's actually been sick. Not with this, she was sick before, but she hasn't. Okay. So ready? We'll do an Om first and then together 3 times. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhyam
Vardhanam Vandhanam Rukshiyamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhyam Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Vandhanam Tat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhyam Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Vandhanam Mrityoramamritat Om.
have the magic sound of the message bell telling us that time is over.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm fine with sitting for a little while all together if you want, but we can also end here and can end the recording. And I just want to say what a pleasure it's been teaching you all Sanskrit. It's been really, really enjoyable. There's a wonderful energy.
Yeah.
Teaching us. It's been so magical.
Oh, dhanyavad. If anybody has any questions, by all means, I mean, you can ask now or email me or anything like that. And we were talking about continuing the class, which Chelsea will send. If you guys are interested, I would love to do that. So Chelsea will send out emails about that. And just if you know that you want to, just let her know what your schedule's like and when would be good. Everything's a little disrupted right now, so.
You know, when you started talking about your book too, you know, the different sutras. Yeah, I would be interested if you either have a separate class, a different